Hello, everybody. Welcome to Full Time. I'm here in the front yard. This camera angle's making it look much nicer than it actually is. It's not bad, though. Sorry about the barking. We're dog sitting, so there's 3 dogs in there. So they may make an appearance at some point. I certainly hope not, because they're very violent. Anyway, this is a week after all the major competitions. There is one more major competition. I do not want to diminish it at all, because the African Cup of Nations has been excellent, and I will be talking about that here shortly. But because there isn't a glut of big soccer games or action going on, and as we're moving into the silly season, which I'll be talking about also, I will begin with something that was very interesting that caught my attention. It has a soccer connection, and that is the Wimbledon final, which was the longest final in Wimbledon history. Almost 5 hours as Novak Djokovic beat Roger Federer. By the way, Roger Federer, he choked a little bit in that. As great as he is, that's not what I'm talking about. But he had serve. He was up 2 match points. Anyhow, that's not what I would talk about. But there is a phenomenon happening in sports, and it's clearly evident in tennis. Tennis was the ultimate young man sport. When you were 28, 29, you were over the hill. Remember? I'm just going to give you some numbers here. Andre Agassi, to me, the greatest talent I've ever seen of a tennis player. He won his last major at the age of 33. Pete Sampras, who you could probably say was the most dominant until the arrival of the current generation, he's won his last major at the age of 31. Boris Becker, I can't go through everyone here. Boris Becker at the age of 29. It's a little bit windy. Look at this. Doesn't this look cool? John McEnroe won his last major at the age of 25. And Bjorn Borg, I believe, is even lower than that. So, as you can see as we go back in time, Roger Federer did not win that major at Wimbledon, but only one man is in his path. He's the second best player in the world right now. At the age of 37, still going strong. He's going to win a major. He'll need some help from Novak Djokovic, because right now Djokovic will beat him everywhere, except for the French, because that's Rafa Nadal. Rafa Nadal's not going anywhere. You probably thought they were 2-3 years ago, but they're not. This is a phenomenon, and we've seen it in sports like basketball, where the older generation starts hanging around a little bit longer, and the younger generation's just not good enough. Who in tennis, who are these young phenoms, and we've seen like 2 generations of them come by, are better than Federer or Nadal or Djokovic now? The answer is 0. You know, these Joe Willie Tsongas and the Dimitrovs. I know a little bit about tennis. It's not really my passion. But that's something to look out for, and I think that's going to happen in more and more sports. Roger Federer should play till he's 42 the way he's looking right now. Why stop unless he just had enough? Maybe Djokovic is the guy who's going to eventually retire him. But then if Federer and Nadal go, Serena Williams dominates as she gets older. Some people come in there and she lost the final, but she's the only consistent one on the women's side. Anyway, let's get to the footy. African Cup of Nations. The best 2 teams that I've watched on a regular basis were Senegal and Algeria, and that is your final. Senegal has such a high ceiling, and we thought they could have been the darling at the last World Cup. In Russia, they will be a darling. They're going to be one of the favorites, potentially, at World Cup 2022, because all their players now are 23, 24, 25. Algeria is a little bit older, but they have a lot of good depth, and they have a superstar player in Riyad Mahrez. So they both won. The semifinals were great, and you have a final that when I got to the quarters, I go, that's the final I want to see, and that's exactly what we got. North Africa versus West Africa. One thing I've noticed about watching the African Cup of Nations, Europe is the best region. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. There is no debate. South America was right there, but I would argue I've enjoyed the young African talent at AFCON better than I've enjoyed the South American talent at Copa America. And you know, South America is my bread and butter. That's my baby. But I'm being honest with you. We don't pull any punches here. We are familia. Tú sabes. So, very impressed with what's happened in the African Cup of Nations. Cannot wait for that final. I think Algeria is going to get it because they have been clinical. They look really good. North African teams are very good, but the West African teams are as well. We saw some development from the South African teams. It's been a good tournament for that continent. Didn't start that way. All right, the silly season It's the season in the summer where we are now in. All the tournaments are ending, and now we can focus on a very entertaining part of the calendar for world soccer, and that's where are all these big star players in Europe going to sign? And that's starting to happen. A couple of big shoes that need to drop, potentially. Neymar and Kylian Mbappe, they may not go anywhere, but, Real Madrid wants to still make a splash. Maybe they're done, and we won't know until they're done. So the speculation can continue. Manchester United have some loose ends. Liverpool mad a little bit, but it's not going to be bananas. But because some of the Spanish league, Barcelona just signing Antoine Griezmann, which pretty much ends the idea that Neymar going back to Barcelona is going to happen, which was such a bad idea. Just sounded bad, and I know it was just on the radar for a blip, but Griezmann makes a lot more sense. But a year ago, you may not have recalled, but he had this whole kind of decision thing where he says he's staying at Atletico Madrid. That turned off some of the Barcelona fans, some of the Barcelona players, allegedly. And now he comes in there, and with not the best energy. And now there's also the situation where Atletico Madrid wants more from the transfer because of the player clause that was supposed to be at 200 million euros, was actually at 120, and that's starting. It's a real mess, but I love it. We love messes here. So Antoine Griezmann, also after they said he wasn't going to come, he was going to go to Paris Saint-Germain, and Neymar was going to come to Barcelona. This was Messi. And again, I love Messi. Not Lionel Messi. Oh, I love him too. I know you doubt me. I love Lionel Messi. The other Messi. Messi is in a mess. So Antoine Griezmann, part now in this Spanish push. There was a rejected part to the Barcelona move earlier, so that's all very interesting in the big picture. Real Madrid, Barcelona, and what's happening with Atletico Madrid make that very compelling. And I like what Valencia's been doing in the offseason. So you see, the La Liga has become much more compelling to me than it has in years past. Makes it a league that's going to creep up to what's happening in the English Premier League. And may pass them this year because of Real Madrid and Barcelona alone. But I think Atletico's been active, really active, ambitious, even though they lose Griezmann. And Valencia's a team I think will stick around for a bit. La Liga, baby. Okay, finally, Women's World Cup is over, but what are we doing to help push the women's game? Procter & Gamble, Secret Deodorant, are doing something. They're going to drop just over $500,000 to help close the pay gap for the equal pay for the 23 members of the U.S. women's national team that recently won the World Cup. I think one thing in sports that has to be honored is the best have to be the highest paid. This is not a democracy. This is the rich get richer and the poor get the picture in many ways, because we want the best sports athletes, and the U.S. women's national team is a sports athlete. And to the victor of the spoils, they go the money. But this group of U.S. women's national team are not going to be short of money here, and we can already see it. And they deserve it. But we can't lose sight of the women who are looking to make a professional career, and that's what's going to grow this sport in this country. So well done, Procter & Gamble, but let's remember, as we give this to that 23 member, and again, they deserve it, how do we help those that aren't full internationals? How do we help those that are looking to make a professional career in this sport? That's the important part, because that's what's going to help it, because 23 will not make this sport a success in this country. Take the glasses off. So there I am. Well, have a great summer, everybody. Enjoy. Please subscribe to my channel. Share the wealth, and we'll be back here sometime next week to discuss some more things. Arrivederci.